What's happening, guys? Welcome to Let's Talk Comics, and today I am going to talk about Dork. Now, probably about last month, February, somewhere around that time period, this book came out, and it really blew up. Like, instantly, overnight, it was going for $20, $30, $40, going over cover price, and it was incredibly strange to see because this was a brand new character. It was not a new take on a pre-existing character or anything like that. This was a new creation, new character by a gentleman by the name of Brett Bean. He is someone who I am not terribly familiar with, if at all. But apparently he does have kind of a reputation as a cartoonist. He has some stuff out there or whatever. But as far as mainstream comic books, I don't know if he had anything prior to Dork, or if he had anything to any acclaim or whatever prior to Dork. But this book really took off, and it was shocking to see it explode the way it did. Like I said, it was not a pre-existing title. It was not some sort of ultra rare variant. It was not a book that featured someone who was going to be in an upcoming movie or what have you. And it just really took off. And it was probably one of the first books that led the charge for the recent wave of speculation. I managed to pick up last week a fourth printing of this book, and I wanted to go over it to see what all the hype was about. And honestly, I just do not get it whatsoever. To me, what it felt like was a combination of the Scotty Young Image book, I Hate Fairyland, and I think it's Matt Groening has the show on Netflix called Disenchanted. It felt like a combination of the two. Basically, it's this fantasy world or whatever called the Scar, and you've got good guys fighting. Essentially, for lack of a better term, you've got good guys fighting bad guys or whatever. And this character here, he is half dwarf, half orc. He's called Dork by everyone, and that kind of name kind of sticks with him. He has like this magic shield right here, and it starts off with he is spying on these guys, these people who are eating like unicorn head or whatever. And then he was contemplating joining them, and then he kind of gets sucked up into this big fight or whatever. And like this is his first appearance, and this is where they call him Dork or whatever. And that guy here, he goes, "The creature born in light and living in the dark will bring about the end of the world." So this Dork character is like some sort of prophesized person that's going to end the Scar. So everyone decides they want to kill him, and then he has to kind of fight or whatever. And we see, a lot of violence. We see the shield is sentient and it's leading the charge, kind of like Thor's hammer or whatever. You have a lot of cartoony style violence in here, kind of like this, and like this guy getting his head rocked or whatever. He picks up this unicorn head that's been cooked. So it's, like I said, it's like young. It's, it does have violence and it does have a little blood or whatever, but it's very cartoony style blood, very cartoony style violence. And in that mode, it made me really think of I Hate Fairyland. But honestly, I read the whole thing and I don't see what the hype is about it, behind it. It felt like it was a comic strip. It felt like a series of comic strips that were put together into one book. Like small gags that stacked up on top of each other. And I know that's essentially what kind of like a comic book is. But this right here is what it really felt like, a bunch of little small gags, little small stories stacked up to make one whole book. Like I said, I did not see the hype for all of this. I think a lot of the hype about it is due to people wanting this book to be something, wanting it to be the next Walking Dead or the next big thing or whatever it is. And so that's why everyone took off. You know, that's why the book took off and everyone was jumping all over it. You know, the art's fun, so to speak. You know, it's definitely silly and cartoony and over the top fight scenes or whatever. You know, the chicken here gets killed, gets decapitated, and because it was killed with a magic weapon, the head is like a ghost or whatever, so to speak. And now it's accompanying Dork. But outside of that, I did not really see all the hype about it. But I wanted to pick up this book to see for myself what it was all about. And not my cup of tea, but if you are someone who likes, you know, like I Hate Fairyland or, you know, Bone, or if you like, you know, if you've ever seen the show on Netflix, Disenchanted, give it a try. You might like it, but personally, not my cup of tea. So till next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good day. Bye-bye.